and YouTube. If you have any questions on Facebook or YouTube, put them into the chat. If you have any questions here, make sure that you add them to our chat. We'll get them as we go along here and get going. Mike Putnam, good morning, sir. Welcome to Mastermind with Neil Schwartz. It is exciting that you're here. Welcome. Well,
thank you.
It's great. Good. Love that smiling face, and that we had an opportunity to chat a little bit before we got started here. And you've got great attitude, great focus, and I think, excuse me, Steve Powers is your coach, right?
Yep, he's been my coach for close to 20 years.
Wow, fantastic. Well, Steve, here's to you. Thank you, buddy. Okay.
Steve is the best in the business.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Okay, so Mike, just do a little Reader's Digest version of yourself for us, where you work, the business, maybe a little bit about your production the last year or so, and then we'll go into it from there. Okay.
Sure. I actually sell houses out in Northern Virginia, which is 20, 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. is where my office is. I've been doing this for 23 years. It's kind of crazy to think I've been doing it for over 2 decades. Time flies when you're having fun. Last year, I sold 144 houses. So far this year, I'm at 105 and 20 pending currently.
Wow. Fantastic. Very good. I'm sorry, I was cut out for just 1 second. Did you talk about a team or
as far as my team, I have 2 buyer agents, and then I have 3 full-time support people to make sure, obviously, that we deliver world-class customer service, which is the most important part of what we do.
Good. Excellent. So in 2019, you did how many transactions?
144.
144. Okay. And you opened up the first quarter of this year very strong. Sounds like you're still doing it, going on very strong. Did COVID affect you at all? Did it slow you down at all? Did you have one bad day?
Well, I think mindset-wise, we all had a couple of rough days there, but I think COVID was an opportunity to me to really take my business to the next level. As good as we were, I think when you start seeing everyone around getting scared, there's a huge opportunity. I think one of the first things that we had to do when COVID came out was to really get my team on the same page, because when it first happened, you have so many people at different places. Some people don't care. Some people are scared. And then you have some people that say they don't care, but they're really scared. So, when you have all of these dynamics and uncertainty, I started to notice right at the beginning of March that, there's some issues going on that we had to address. Fortunately for me, I'm part of Anthony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. So he had a special call with all of us where he brought on some Nobel Prize winners. And he really talked about exactly what was going on and some of the science. And I think that really enabled a lot of my team to realize that, we needed to focus on what we could control and not what we couldn't. And from there, we really just started jumpstarting our business. It was an opportunity to touch base with our clients like we never did before. It was an opportunity to double our contacts because, one of the things that I told every single one of my people on my team is that the market will never dictate our income. It doesn't dictate our business. It just dictates how hard we have to work and the kinds of things we have to do that are work. And so when we realized that, we made the adaptions, and, literally within 6 weeks, we were up to 30 pending.
Wow, that's fantastic. Good for you.
Thank you.
Attitude's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as a leader, it's an opportunity to step up. People think that, a boss is someone, that you're supposed to follow. A boss is someone that you have to follow. A leader is someone that you want to follow. And I think, when things get tough, people look at the leader, and that's when you show that you're a leader, because most people are the byproducts of the leader that they follow. If you have a weak leader, a scared leader, a fearful leader, you're going to have a very scared, fearful team. So I think for me, it was an opportunity to look at myself and say, you know what, I can take a better version of myself and I can make it even better.
Fantastic. And remind me, you've been in the business how long, Mike?
This is my 23rd year.
And before real estate, what did you do?
I was a restaurant consultant. So I would, every 4 months, I would go around to different businesses, hire, fire, redo the advertisement. And I had 4 months to get them to a profit.
Tell me more about that. I mean, that's interesting.
It's a fun
How'd you get
business.
started in something like that?
Well, when I was younger, I wanted to be I wanted to own my own sports bar. It was going to be called Play by Play. It was going to be the shape of a football stadium. So I interned at all these different bars, and then I got into that industry. But as a consultant, you literally are being placed in the worst restaurants in America, which isn't fun. You're having to fire the worst employees. You're having to create a different culture. It gave me a lot of things in terms of tools of how to communicate, how to deal with difficult situations that I think later on in my life, being a real estate agent, were really assets. Although at the time, it certainly didn't feel that way.
Right. How'd you make the transition from there to real estate?
My grandmother always said that I should go into sales. So I decided to go to, interview at a bunch of different sales places. I did pharmaceuticals. And one of the last places was Heartland Realty. It was this mom and pop shop down in Woodbridge. It was like 45 minutes away from me. And I'll never forget, I'm in the office getting ready to be interviewed. And I see this old man kind of like limp over. And he says, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm Mike Putnam. I'm, here to interview." And I was like, "Who are you?" And I'll never forget, he said he was the broker. And so I was like, "If you don't mind me asking," I was just like, "How much money did you make last year?" You don't have to tell me. I'm just curious. And he was like, "Last year I made $310,000. And I remember thinking, what? This guy can't walk. He can't talk. He made $310,000. I said, "Look, you're telling me that you made $310,000. And he's like, "Well, yeah." So he left. And then this other lady came in to interview me. And I said, "I have one question. Did that man over there, Jerry White, did he make $310,000 last year?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." And I'm like, "I'm in." The lady's trying to pitch me. I'm like, "I'm done. I'm in. If that dude can make 310 and can't walk or talk, I'm in." And that was it. I burned my boats. I literally left there. I put my 2-week notice in. They fired me because they didn't want me to give 2 weeks. I literally looked up the next real estate exam was in, Roanoke, Virginia, which was 6 hours. I'm like, I'm in. And I did it, and then I jumped straight into to real estate. I'll never forget my first day at the office, because I envisioned real estate being like, Wolf of Wall Street, boiler room, at Wall Street. So I came in there at 6 o'clock in the morning, my first day, in a 3-piece suit. 7 o'clock came, nobody's in there. 8 o'clock came in, nobody's in there. 9 o'clock, nobody's in there. The phone's ringing. I'm just like, what do I do? At about 10 o'clock, there's a guy that came in there, and his name was Rick. And I'll never forget, he sat down next to me in jeans, and he had on a baseball cap, and he's playing solitaire. I'm like, "Dude, like, what are you doing? Like, we're on commission here. I just quit my job making $90,000 a year. Like, what do we do to sell houses?" And he's just like, "Oh, you're wet behind the ears. You just answer the phone, And so I'm like transferring stuff, and I'm thinking, like, I called my mom around 12 o'clock. And I was like, "I think I made the worst mistake in the history of real estate. Like, why am I doing this? Like, there's one person in here and he's playing solitaire." So I got off to a little bit of a rough start. But fortunately for me, after about 3 or 4 days, because my very first job was a telemarketer, I decided that I would just pick up the white pages. And I started at A, and I would say, "Hi, this is Mike Putnam with Heartland Realty. Have you thought about buying or selling a house?" And I did that for the first probably 3 to 4 days, just cold calling people. And then there was a guy that was retiring, and he said, "I see you in here making calls. Here's this program." I never used it. And it was the Mike Ferry over the phone training.
Wow.
So I started looking at that, who's Mike Ferry, and I saw that he was actually coming to my area like 2 weeks later. So I decided to go to the seminar. And I'll never forget when I got to the seminar at this, I think it was an action workshop. I had a goatee on, and I came in khakis, because I'm thinking it's like a conference, you want to be comfortable. I had a polo shirt on, and I'm sitting kind of like in the middle, and everyone's in their 3-piece suits in the front. And there was a part of the conference that he looks and he's like, "How much do you need to break even?" And a guy stands up and he's like, 10,000. And another guy was like, "How much do you need?" And the guy's like, 15. And he points to another guy, and the guy said $20,000 is what he needed to break even, which at that stage of my life was like so over the top of what like I even thought like life could even be about, And so like I'm talking, and the mic's on the stage, and he said, "You stand up." And I'm like hiding. And he says, "You stand up." And so like, I'm hiding now. And he's like, do not make me come off this stage. And I'm just like, and he's like, okay, for you that know me, you know what I'm going to do. So he literally walks all the way off the stage, comes to me and says, you stand up. So I stand up and he asked me what my name was. And I was like, Mike Putnam. And he's like, you want to be really good, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to sell a lot of houses, don't you? I was like, yeah. He's like, you want to be a superstar, don't you? I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, you see that shit on your face? Get rid of it. He's like, if you come in this auditorium tomorrow with that shit on your face, I am going to have them haul your ass out. Now sit down and shut up. So I sit down and everyone's laughing at me. And so at the end of the seminar, I like go home and I'm telling my girlfriend, like, all these people in the front wearing suits and I got to shave my goatee. And she's like, no, I love the goatee. And so I shaved it because I was just like, something about what he said, I just believed. And so halfway through the next day, he said, you stand up. And I'm in my suit, I'm clean shaven. And he said, you know how to listen. You have half a chance. Now sit down and shut up. And he started to laugh. And that was the day that I signed up for one-on-one coaching.
That's a great story. Classic Mike Ferry, right?
Oh yeah, people don't realize it. The old Mike Ferry didn't play any games. And I love him, man. I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at with just without him. You know, his demeanor, I mean, his work ethic, the way that he teaches us. I mean, I wouldn't be anywhere close to where I'm at without having that influence in my life. I mean, he truly is one of the 2 or 3 people in my life that changed my life.
That's great. Fantastic. So tell me a little bit of where the business actually comes from for you, Mike. Let's get down into the grass a little bit.
I would say this. Are you talking about this year, last year, or just in general?
Well, let's talk about this year. I mean, you know,
okay.
We're talking about
this
how
year,
you had
right
that.
Now, 21% of our business has come from expired listings.
Mm-hmm.
6% come from for sale by owners. We have about 34% that come from our past clients' sphere of influence. And then we probably have about 17, 18% that come from Zillow. And then probably the rest are just, you know, small categories and so forth. But that's the bulk of my business.
Okay, got it. And your past client in Sphere, I mean, how big's your database right now?
It's about 4,500. Wow. You know, what's interesting for me is that, you know, when I first started selling houses, I literally didn't listen to the part where they said, keep your database. So like my first 3 years, even though I was in coaching, I had this like box in my back of my car and my goal was to fill it up, which would hold 50. And then after 50, I would take it and I would throw it away. And then I would take the empty one and then I would try to fill it back up with 50. And I just did that for the first 3 or 4 years. And when I got to 50, I would burn it. And that was like my ceremony. So I never really kept a lot of the clients that I initially did. Although at some point I did try to go back and try to find them. But, you know, I was a hunter. I enjoyed going out and hunting and finding people. You know, I think we all have our own certain niche that we love to do. And for me, you know, it was the expires, the for sale owners, the part where you get the rush, the adrenaline, you know, that I was hooked. Mm. So for me, part of my business, I always struggled more with connecting to my past clients and Sphere, because to me, it didn't feel like I was prospecting. You know, to me, it was like, I'm just having conversations. And for me, I never really learned to enjoy that until I would say the last couple of years.
Interesting.
For whatever reason.
Are you always this passionate or just because it's us?
No, I love what I do, man. I get to play every day. You know, I mean, you know, as I said, I'm like a real estate junkie. I mean, just, you know, I'm one of those weird people that, I mean, the best part of my day is when I call, because when I'm calling, like I'm free. I know what to say. I know what to do. It's the part that I get to live the real me. You know, it's the part that I love. I love being able to talk, communicate, and more importantly, be able to help people through being able to influence them to get what they want.
Well, that's great. So how would you, how do you approach your expireds today? I mean, do you door knock them, phone canvas? How's that go?
I mean, I'm on the phone every morning at 7:30. I call them. Okay. You send them a package.
So
I don't do that much. I never really did that much door knocking. For me, when I experienced going out and door knocking, the expired listings, I never got the amount of context that I felt that I needed to be able to do that. Although now, you know, I've put an iPad in my car. So now wherever I drive, if I'm driving to appointments, I'm actually calling all day. So, I mean, on an average day, I probably make between 700 to 900 dials a day. But I'm calling expireds, the for sale by owners. I'll also cold call myself throughout the day, calling neighborhoods to saying, who wants to sell. I mean, I'm one of those high contact people that, if I'm in between appointments, I'm making sure that if I have 45 minutes in the car, I got 45 minutes of prospecting. So putting an iPad in my car has changed my business a lot because it allows me to do things. If I'm in traffic on the way home, it doesn't matter to me because I'm doing the same thing I would do at the office. So being able to do that, really allowed me to get into the higher contacts. I remember in 2012 or 13, I averaged 110 contacts a day for the year.
Wow.
Because the market changed. There was no expires. There was no for sale by owners. It just changed. So, I just cold called for 7 or 8 hours every single day to get business.
So how many contacts are you doing now a day?
I average right now somewhere right around like 40 contacts a day.
Okay. And it's a mixture of all the things that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And your team, do they prospect also?
Yeah. If you're a buyer agent for me, you do two things. Number one, you take out the buyers. Number two is that between 8:30 and 12 o'clock, you're on the phone prospecting. I have them cold calling around neighborhoods, asking people if they want to buy or sell a house. And I try to really sell them that at the end of the day, for every listing that they generate, I give them 30%, which gives them a reason why they should cold call. And number two is that we know that for every 10 listings we take, 4 people are going to buy. So they're getting 30% to just make a call, and then they're getting the buy side of all those as well. So it's a way for them to exponentially expand their business.
How many listings are you taking a year right now, Mike?
I would say this year we'll probably take somewhere right around between 95 to like 110.
And those are all yours, or?
Yeah, I'm the only one that goes on appointments.
Okay, got it. So they generate the appointment for you, but you go.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay. And then
I give them a referral fee for it.
And you give them, that's how they pick up that referral fee.
Because you have to realize, as a buyer agent, what does that even mean? In real estate, if you're not making a call and you're not calling someone and no one is calling you, you're out of business. So anytime a buyer agent isn't talking to someone, they might as well take the sign on their head and turn it over and it says out of business. So I try to really embed that into the people that work for me, that if you want to be in business, you need to pick up the phone.
Okay. And you're still role playing, and you role play with your team on a daily basis, weekly. How does that work for you?
So what I did is I decided to create what we call it the pit. And it's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street. I have all of us in one room. We all have adjustable height desks, and we're in there pitching together every single day. And so, I have a new guy in there now. His name is Chander. This guy's probably getting between 100 to 120 contacts a day. Because if you want to work for me as a new agent, the first month or two, all you're going to do is you're going to prospect for 8 or 9 hours every single day. So that's all he does. But the thing is he's listening to me talk and prospect and do these objection handle lists. He's been with me now about 3 weeks. You would think that this guy has been with me for 3 years. Like, I heard him today talk, and I was just like, wow. Because he's hearing all of the little intricacies. People don't realize the power of prospecting together. You pick up all of the nuggets. I can get someone in 3 months to sound like they've been doing it for 4 or 5 years because they're listening to me all day, every day, prospect. And it exponentially makes them better very quickly, because people don't realize, it really is a 2 millimeters between a person that can set a lot of appointments from a person that doesn't set an appointment at all. And
tell me more
2
about what do you mean by that? I get the idea, but tell our guest.
So like, for instance, a lot of people want to wait, but like the 2 millimeters, are you wanting to wait because you need more time in the property, or you're just looking to put it on at a time where you can get even more money?
Got it.
See, that 2 millimeters, a lot of times most people will go where the money is, not the timing. So as soon as you can do that, now you have something to then sell them on. Like, people don't realize, we don't sell real estate. The number one thing that we sell is urgency. If we can't get someone to do something right now, then I'm going to call them and I'm going to get them to do it, and you lose out on that business. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. We have to get people to take action now. Just like, I was talking to someone today, and, they wanted to wait until next year. And I said, look, the reality is because of COVID, which is the reason why they said they didn't want to sell. Because you have to realize something. If you can take somebody's objection and feed it back to them, and the reason why they should wait is the reason why they should do it, there's so much power in that. And the lady's like, I want to wait because of COVID. And I'm like, well, COVID is the very reason why you should do it. I mean, the reality is that most people today have decided to put their house on the market next year, probably looking at February and March and April. So let me ask you a question. Anytime you have 2 years worth of inventory coming on the market at one time, what do you think would happen to the price? Would it go up or would it go down? Well, obviously it would go down, sure.
I'm going to
Right
add
now
that.
in your area,
I'm going to add that line to my scripts. Thank you.
but it's so important. And I was like, right now the inventory is down 85% for where we were year over year. And what's even better is he just lowered the rates from 2.7 to 2.5 for VA loans. I want you to think, in January, the rates are 4.5%. Now they're 2.5%. If you're a buyer, would that give you enough incentive to do something now if you're saving 40 to 60% on a monthly payment?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if moving your time frame up just a little bit allowed you to get 5, 6, 7% more, would that be something you'd consider? For most people, they're going to say yes. But you have to realize you have to give them a reason why they need to do it. If you don't give someone a reason why they should do it right now, they will not do it. They won't. And that's the thing that my team, they hear me go over and over and over. So you have, 24, 25-year-old kids making, 200, 300 grand a year.
Very cool. Very cool. So Mike, switch gears slightly. What's your superpower? What's the thing that makes Mike Mike?
I think it really comes down to 3 things. Number one is that I really believe that over the last 23 years, I have worked harder than any single real estate agent in the country. I mean, every single day when my clients get out of bed, they can know that at 5 o'clock every single day, I'm getting ready, my mind and my body ready to help them get their home sold or to help them find something. Hard work is the most important trait that anyone would know from Mike Putnam. I think the second superpower is that I just care more. I actually care about giving my clients an experience. I care about giving them the results. And I think you have to realize something. Anytime you do anything for 23 years, you have better systems, you have better tools, you have better execution. I mean, there's so many things that we are able to deliver in terms of customer service that nobody else in the industry does that. I mean, when we take a listing, for instance, the first thing we do is the next day we have cupcakes dropped off at their desk or at their house. If we're competing against an agent and it's close, we'll drop something off, a gift at their house and just say, thank you so much for taking the opportunity to meet with me. I look forward to helping you whenever the time is right. And we send that. There's a law of reciprocation. When you do things for people up front, you get that back. And I think we do little milestones throughout the transactions to really provide people with an experience and not just a transaction. And I think the third superpower is I've built a culture and an environment around me that allows me to be me. It allows me to flourish. It's something that's positive. When I look at the other people doing stuff around me, it excites me. It keeps me going. Because you have to realize something. We all have ups and downs, but when you create an environment around you that forces you to be better and hold accountability, having a great coach like Steve, I mean, all those things are attributes.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Very powerful. Very passionate. Energy sells, my friend, and you've got a ton of energy and you're selling all the time. I love it.
I appreciate that. I love what I do.
I love it. I love it. And I think I'd asked you this, but maybe not. What's an objection handler or a phrase that you use that when all else fails, you bring this out and it has a high success of closing the deal for you or moving the needle? You think of anything that you like, a go-to objection handler or go-to phrase?
I mean, for me, I think everyone is a little bit different. I mean, the thing that we almost always hear is someone saying that they want to wait. And for me, the easiest way to decipher waiting is to really engage the time, because you can manipulate time and then find out, is it about money? Because like if someone says, well, I need more time in the house, that's fine. But then you have to also show them like the consequences. Okay, so you want to wait a year and you can do that. But let me ask you something, right now, with 35% of the people in the area in forbearance, which means they're not paying their mortgage, we know that in the next 6 to 12 months, a couple things are going to happen. Number one is that those people are either going to have to dump their properties because they need to pull out the equity to live. Or number two, if you don't have equity, do you know what happens to those properties? You end up losing them. So if we know that next year the inventory is going to be significantly higher, again, if moving your time frame up a little bit had a lot of advantages, is that something you would consider?
Got it. So you're manipulating or moving, better word. You're moving the time and then using the time against them.
Because for most people, it always comes down to money or time. It's just like, a lot of people, like my wife wants me to do the dishes. I'm going to be like, I'll do it later. But if my wife is like, I need you to do the dishes, I need you to go change our daughter's dirty diaper, I'm all over the dishes. I have a reason why to do it. And it's the same thing. You have to give people a reason why they want to do it. Too many people are trying to just tell people, do you want to buy, do you want to sell? But they never give them a reason why. You have to give people a reason why they should do it now. If you cannot deliver a reason, they will not do it. Because by nature, we're always meant to do it later. It's how the nervous system is.
So, and you're doing that by asking questions to identify what the motivation is, and then you identify that and give them the choices, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, you also have to realize something. I mean, selling is a lot about creating like emotion in people. Like I'm in an appointment maybe 6 months ago. And so I'm in there and there's a wife that wants to move to Florida and there's a husband that literally does not want me to be there. We've all been in that appointment. You're dead. Like you're a sinking ship and you know it. He's not even paying attention. And so I looked over at it and I'm like, sir, let me ask you something. Why did you even buy this house? And he's like, well, I bought it because she wanted to be there. And so the first thing I thought, I was like, so you seem like the kind of guy that would do anything to make this woman happy, correct? So I'm locked him in. He's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't want to get too personal, but tell me something. How did you meet this woman? And he said, well, I'm like, no, where were you? Like, tell me what you saw. And he's like, well, I was a sailor and I was coming off the ship and I saw her in this red dress and she had this red lipstick. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, stop. And I was like, let me ask you, what did you see? And she's like, he is a sailor. He had his hat on, And so like we were creating emotion and like they were looking back at each other. And I was like, well, what did you do when you saw her? And he's like, I just went right over to her and I told her how pretty she looked. And I was like, wow, that's beautiful. I was like, I knew you were the kind of guy that would do anything to make this woman happy. I said, let me ask you something. At this stage of life, what is going to make this beautiful woman right over here happy? The same one that you met when you walked off the ship. And he's like, well, to go to Florida. I was like, honestly, would you do it for her? You're really doing it for yourself. When your wife is happy, how do you feel? And he's like, well, it lights me up. I was like, of course, a happy wife is a happy life. And I was like, so at this stage, if you're going to do something that would really light her up, make her happy, but really more importantly, would light you up, what would that be? And he was like, well, I guess go to Florida. And then they looked at each other. And there was a moment where they held hands. They looked up at me and I was like, so what do we need to do? And the guy said, we're going to Florida. And to me, that is what I live for. The ability to take all of the knowledge, the skills, and the ability to create an emotion that will move people. It's the one thing that drives me to want to help people. Because, had someone else come in there and not done that, they wouldn't have moved. And that woman and that husband would have never got the fulfillment that they deserve. And it's just like, like a lot of people think so many bad things about selling. Selling at the highest level is serving. We are serving these people. If you believe in your product or service and that you will care more, you will do more, and you don't call, it's selfish. So, I mean, all your agents that, when they're listening to this, you have to think, if you really believe that you would take care of someone and you don't call, it is one of the most selfish acts that you can do. And as a salesperson, when you come from that perspective, you come from such contribution and service that you're able to get past any objection because you care and people feel that. And it helps you move people.
I love this, Mike. This is fantastic. I now can make them feel guilty about feeling selfish. Starting at 7:00 tomorrow morning, that's the deal. You're all very selfish for not doing your job. I love it. Mike, I got so much out of this. Thank you. I
appreciate that.
You bet. Absolutely. Let's open it up to some questions. You game for that?
Of course.
Absolutely. All right. So questions for Mike. Who's got a question? Go ahead, Kathy.
Yes, Mike, what part of Northern Virginia, what cities do you work in?
Alexandria, Fairfax, Springfield, Burke. I mean, we cover the entire Northern Virginia area, Loudoun County, Fairfax County, Prince William County.
Okay. Yeah, my
Do you
son
know
lives
anybody?
in Alexandria and he's thinking of possibly moving, so.
Yeah, well, anything we could do to help them, I would love to help you. And
All right, good job. We'll post your information in the Zoom chat
sure.
before you leave here. Absolutely. Good. Thank you, Kathy. Other questions? Unmute yourself. Please ask Mike.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Amir.
Mike, again, thank you so much for being here. I love your soul and your energy.
I
Quick
appreciate
question for you, for sure, man. Quick question. Are you usually calling with triple line dialer or single line dialer? And when you are on a car, how do you call people? Which software or CRM do you
Yes,
use?
I use Mojo. So I have an iPad. There's the best holder for your iPad in the car. It screws into your cup holder. It's like $25 on Amazon. You put it on there, and I mean, you basically can call when you get someone. You can hit a button. You can do voice notes. So after you get the hold of it, it's not really a distraction at all. I mean, you're getting a lot of work done. It's really changed the way I do my business, because you have to realize something. I mean, just driving to work and driving home, if you could get an extra 45 minutes in a day, you do that 5 days a week, you're getting an extra, I mean, literally an extra, 50, 60 contacts in a week. I mean,
Definitely.
that equates to more business, because you have to remember the most important thing you have to realize as a real estate agent is any part of the day that you are not calling someone for an appointment, you're not doing lead follow-up, you're not going on an appointment or not presenting an offer, you're out of business. So I try to make 80% of all of my day doing one of those four things, with the front end being is that we have to call people. The more people we call, the more business that we get, period. And there's always somebody to call, because that's the biggest thing that I hear from agents is, who do I call? You cold call. I mean, if there's no one to call, if you called all the expireds, all the for sale owners, you talked to some of your past clients, you cold call around the areas that you sold. Hi, this is Mike Putnam with Remax. I was just curious if you thought about selling your home here in the near future. I'm not sure if you know, but with the inventory right now at a record low, if you could get a better price, is that something you'd consider? And you just take it from there.
Yeah. So is it triple line dialer or single line?
When I'm doing the expireds, I go 2 lines. When I'm cold calling, I do 3.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Other questions, please?
Yeah, it's Tess. I have a question. First, thank you, Mike. I love your energy.
Oh, thank you.
Very addicting. So, when you said that selling is creating emotions through people, I mean, I feel like listening to you, it's like creating a story to the client.
Correct.
To emotions, right? I mean, how do you follow those lead-on questions that you have? I mean, I know that you've learned this for years. You've been in business for a long time. How did you develop that?
I mean, obviously I've taken a lot of NLP classes. I think being around Tony Robbins and just watching how he does a lot of his interventions has drastically helped me. I think you have to realize something. Most people try to make decisions with their head. And Tony Robbins always says, when you're in your head, you're dead. Our job as agents is to get them from their head to their heart. Just like a lot of times, during a transaction, you have to actually remind the seller why they even started in the first place. Because there's so much crap that goes on with home inspections and appraisals, and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, that we have to stop and say, wait a second, why are we doing this in the first place? Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with the appraisal. It has nothing to do that your window's broken. It's that you want to be closer to your family. I mean, at the end of the day, honestly, would you rather break 5 or 6 or even 7 windows in your house if that got you closer to your kids? So you have to say it in such a way that they can see it. Because like so many people try to make decisions initially in their head. Just like if you're in a store and I'm a salesperson, I say, what kind of shoe do you want? Oh, I'm just looking. You're going to buy. You're going to buy a pair of shoes. But you're thinking with your head, and we have to get past that. If you can't get past that in sales, you're not going to be able to connect to their heart. And you have to do that by, number one, getting rapport, and then obviously asking the right questions. And obviously the more enthusiasm, the thing is that when you feel like you're actually trying to serve somebody, you come from a different place than if you feel like you're trying to sell somebody. If I'm trying to sell you a house, I'm going to come from a completely different place than if I'm trying to help you get closer to your kids. Because like the one thing I always hear from people that say, I'm not a salesman, I'm not a natural salesperson, I don't do sales. Let me ask you something. Who's the person you love the most in your life?
My kids.
Your kids. So if one of your kids was at a bridge and they said they were going to jump off the bridge, I promise you, you would give them every single reason why they shouldn't jump, every single reason why you love them, and every single reason why they shouldn't do it. What are you doing? You're selling them. See, and not only are you selling them because you're trying to help them. All you're caring about is getting them from here to there. And that's what people forget. If we came with the same enthusiasm that we would do talking to someone like that with our clients, we would get our clients to feel things that they never feel. Too many of us are talking from here instead of just giving our soul and giving our energy and giving our being to these people. Because that's how you move people. Emotion, you can create that. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's wonderful. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very
Good
much.
question. Good question. Great answer. Love it. Okay. Other questions for Mike? Go ahead, Josie. Josie, I think you have to unmute, but it doesn't say that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate all your things that you're sharing. I'm intrigued with your Tony Robbins stuff. How long have you been doing that? And outside of going to his programs, what else are you doing with him?
Well, I've been going to Tony Robbins for 10 years. I joined his Platinum Partnership 5 years ago. So, he has 3 private events that he does with us, at different aspects of our life. You get a lot of one-on-one time, but you also get a chance to really experience, for me, I like to go to 5 or 6 different conferences a year because I get to watch. To me, he's the best communicator that I've ever seen at getting people to do things for their reasons and not yours. It's like when you first have like an objection handler, the first thing you're doing is you're trying to get them, you're trying to tell them what you want to say. You're not really hearing it. But when you internalize your script so much, now you can say the same thing, but in a way that they can receive it. See, that's the thing about when you learn and really practice, you get an objection handler, but it goes beyond that. The next step behind objection handling is being able to say it the way that person says it. I remember Steve Powers, we were role playing one time and he said, did you say that because you wanted to say it or because they needed to hear it? And see, there's such a difference. Are you giving objections because that's what you think you should say or because that's what you know they need? And when you start to talk to people and give them what they need versus what you want to say, it completely changes the dynamics of how you're able to communicate. Does that make sense?
Powerful stuff. Absolutely. Good. Thank you. Great question, Josie. Other questions for Mike?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Valerie.
So how often do you touch your past clients and what CRM do you use?
I use Lion Desk just because it has an auto dialer in it that allows me to kind of go, it's a single dollar, but it allows me to get on there, dial, put my notes in, and it saves it in our CRM with everything else. We've tried everything. The only reason we switched to that is just because it offers text. One of the things is if I send out an email to people for our database, we'll probably get about a 24-25% open rate. If I send a text out, with a video or a message to them, I get almost a 90% open rate.
Yeah.
So you start to realize is that, email is dead. If you're sending emails out and thinking that your clients are really seeing it, you're missing the boat. I mean, the next level in terms of being able to communicate is being able to send out, a monthly video to talk to your clients and just say something to them because you're going to be able to get that message out a lot better than if you just send it out through email.
All
so
right.
is that how often do you touch them usually? And you have 4,500, so that's a lot.
Yeah, we do. I do a video once a month where I'm able to send that out to them. We try to do. I mean, obviously with COVID now it's a lot harder, but in a typical year we probably do 3 to 5 happy hours in different areas where we'll invite all of our clients to come out. You get a lot of the same people, but you also get different people. And then we try to hold 2 events a year. Where we try to invite people out. One year we did a casino night, at my house. So, I mean, you can do little things to try to create an experience because, the thing with an agent is that the end of the transaction is really the beginning of the relationship.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because there's certain things, it's the way you talk, the way you say, the way you act that you would do after a transaction that you probably wouldn't do beforehand because, whether we like it or not, we're the teacher and they're the pupil during the transaction. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they try to get too friendly and chummy chum in the middle of the transaction, and it bites them. After the transaction's over, you've delivered what you promised. now is the time for you to be able to really take that relationship to the next level. One of the things that we do for like the buyers, and it's something that if I was a buyer agent, I'd be doing for every transaction, is say, look, one of the things that we like to do to this is thank you, is we like to throw you a small housewarming party. What I need from you is to get 25, 40, however many people you want to invite, give me their name, phone numbers, and address. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to personally mail out something to every single one and let them know about the event. We're going to cater it. We're going to personally call every single person and invite them. You show up at the party, you spend a little bit of time, you now have 50 people that know about you. At the end of that, you call every one of those 50 people back, thank them for coming to the party. If they didn't come, you tell them what a great party it was. And they say, quick question, by the way, if you were going to buy or sell a home, or if you had a friend or family member that was, do you have an agent that you would use or refer? 99% of everyone is going to say no. Great. I would love the opportunity to be that person for you, just like I was for Mike and Daryl Palm. Would it be okay if I kept in contact with you? Sure. Now you're adding them to your database. Imagine if you could increase your database by 20 to 30 people off of one deal.
That's great.
Powerful.
Post-COVID.
Exactly.
Good job.
Mike, hey, Mike.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I got a question. Even though right now the market is so tight and I'm sure everything is selling so quick, you saying that the majority of business come from expires. You still having a lot of expires there too? That's the
No,
reason
you have to realize something. Early bird gets the worm. Early bird gets the worm. If you don't jump on the expireds at 7:30 in the morning, you're doing yourself a disservice. Because you have to realize by 8:30, when everyone else is getting on, it's too late. When you're the fourth or fifth or sixth person, it's over. I mean, sometimes I can call at 7:30, be in there by 9, and the whole time I'm in there, all I do is hear their phone going off. I mean, the expireds right now have tapered out, but I mean, we took one last night. We competed against 4 agents. It came out earlier yesterday, but we got in the door, and that's the most important part. You have to realize something. I mean, with COVID going on, the inventory is so low right now. So for me and really anybody that works for me, our whole goal now is to talk to more and more and more people. I mean, you have to think as a real estate agent, if you don't have any appointments, you should be getting anywhere between 80 to 100 contacts a day. Because if you're calling the 2 or 3
Yes.
you're calling the 1 or 2 for sale by owners, you call your database. After that, it's time to cold call. It's actually time to roll up your sleeves and go and talk to someone. Because imagine what would happen to all of your businesses if for 6 hours a day, you just call neighborhoods and ask people if they want to sell. Because what's the alternative? To just sit in your office and wait? If you're going to do that, you might as well go home and be with your family. That's all the people that work for me. If you don't want to call people, go home. Because you're out of business. The phone is literally the way you can solve every real estate problem that you have. You want inventory, create it. We are the best creators of inventory. We are the solution to low inventory because we can go find it. And we're skilled enough that we can give people reasons why they should do it now, which is the more important part. Because I'm sure all of you, when you're prospecting and calling, everybody is telling you they're waiting until next year. Remember, feed people back their objection and tell them that's the reason why they should do it. The reason that everyone is doing it next year is the very reason why you have to do it now. And then list the 4 or 5 reasons why they should do it. Like that's where the game changes, because our goal now is inventory. Because again, if you don't do that and I'm in your neighborhood and I do, who gets the business? And the thing is, all of you all are great agents. You're working for an amazing man. Like you all have the skills, but you have to get the 2 millimeters to create urgency. You have to know that every single day, if I don't have an appointment, the only job I have is to talk to as many people as I humanly can possibly do.
Thank you.
I love you. I don't know what else to say. I love you. I
Neil,
think
that is called grinding, what he's saying.
well, it's called how it has to be. Absolutely. Good job. I love it. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves. Unmute yourselves. Let's give this guy a big, giant hand. Mike Putman. Wow. Woo! I love it. I love
you
it.
so
I
much.
think
I
we're just
appreciate
we're gonna watch this every morning, 7:30.
Yeah.
We'll do that for a half an hour, pump ourselves up. We'll run it. Mike, we're going to run this at 1.5 times speed because we really want to get. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Well, thank
What
you.
we do now is we ask everybody to just share what they learned from you, you're welcome to stay and listen. We'll send you a tape of it either way. But thank you again. I can't tell you how appreciative we are.
Sure.
Okay, good stuff. All right. So who wants to go first? What'd you learn from Mike this afternoon?
Can I go first?
Please.
First of all, thank you, Mike, for your enthusiasm and energy. I'm just curious, were you born like that, or you were trained by Tony Robbins, or your personality is expressive?
I'm a driver by nature. I just love what I do. I mean, being able to do what I do. I mean, you have to realize something. There's only two things that I qualify to make the same amount of money I do now: a drug dealer or a high-level bank robber. That's it. I'm not qualified to do anything else. So every single day I know, like, this is it. If I want this life, this is what I get to do. And I found a way to love it.
Oh, that's great. Great story. Thank you, Yvonne. Good question. All right.
Okay. And my question, actually, what I learned is the party, the housewarming party. You know, we'll offer to do the housewarming party and provide food, ask them for the contact. We send out the invitation and then they just show up. Nobody would refuse that. Then we get their contacts. We talk to them and put them in our contacts. I think that's great idea.
Yeah, because you have to realize the whole time you're at the party, all they're doing is telling everybody what a great agent you are. So it's a natural transition to say, I want to do the same thing for you whenever you're ready, whether it's now or later, or if you know anybody else. It's a natural transition and a natural progression.
Yeah, and I like what you said, the ending of a transaction is the beginning of a relationship.
Very
it's
true.
It's just so true.
Thank you.
And we're the creator of inventories. So we got to create inventories.
That is, we are the creator. We are the solution to this problem in the marketplace.
Right. Thank you so much.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne. Great question. Good stuff. Okay. What else did we learn? Josie.
I don't think he could have said it enough times. And I'm sure you agree, Neil, that if you're not making a call, you're not in business.
That is so true.
Yeah. Great.
Turn the sign over.
Exactly. What else did we learn today? Good stuff. Go ahead, Robert.
Well, Mike, first of all, thank you so much. Know you're a busy guy, and to take the time to do this, I really, really appreciate it. My two thoughts. First, I would love to have a conversation with Mike and Dave Abdallah at the same time. I just think that would just be a blast.
Dave used to be an old role play partner back in the day.
I bet that was a lot of fun.
We had some battles.
But you know, the two things I got, for me individually, when you said a boss is someone you have to follow, a leader is someone you want to follow. And I think whether you have a team or not, that's a great mentality to have with your database. Do they see you as a leader in the real estate market or just a real estate agent? I thought that was great. And I hope everyone got that little segment where he said, most of us talk from back here and not here, laying it out on the line, like letting your emotion really show. That's going to change somebody's business.
Because that's how you influence people. You don't influence people by just talking like everyone else. You influence people by being authentic, letting people feel how much you care.
That was great. That's great. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Great. Okay, who else?
I have one.
Tess, please.
I love what he said when you're saying that because we've already internalized our scripts. So the question there was, are you giving your objection based on your mind, or are you saying it because they need it?
It's so true. I mean, saying something because you think you should say it is different than saying something because they need to hear it. Because you see, when you're first learning objection handling, all you're doing is you're reading the paper and you're just talking to the person.
Right.
The second step is you're learning to listen. And then the third stage is where you can listen and then feed back what they need to hear. And you only do that by doing it over and over and over and over again. That's why if anybody wants to work for me, your first 2 months, you're making 100 contacts a day. That's just a requirement. Because I need you to learn how to internalize what you're saying and being able to deliver it, because it makes you so much more powerful as an agent.
Great thought. Good stuff. Good. Excellent question. Thank you. What else did we learn today? Patty, did you have your hand up?
I did. We don't sell real estate, we sell urgency. That
Yes.
was awesome.
It's so true.
I circle that myself. Yeah.
That's the 2 millimeters. The 2 millimeters is teaching people why they should do it now versus later. Because if they'll always say later, there's always an out. It's our job to sell them. Like they said, on every single call, a sale is made. They're either selling you why they should do it later, or you are selling them why they should do it now.
Great thought.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good. All right. Anyone else have anything else they learned you want to share? No? All right. Unmute yourselves, please. Mike, again, thank you very much. Powerful, great,
Awesome.
fantastic.
Wow.
This is terrific because right now we go right back into prospecting for the rest of the day. This is the end of our ultimate day. So you were the ice cream, you were the cotton candy, you're the 18 shots of espresso for the rest of the day.
Well, it makes y'all feel any better. I got 2.5 more hours that I'm going to prospect since my 6 o'clock appointment rescheduled. So I'll be on the phone there with you.
Well, you're welcome to you're welcome to stick around. We have what we call open mic. So every 30 minutes, somebody else goes and prospects aloud. So you're welcome to hang around. We'd love to hear your prospecting.
Anything like it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we'd love to hear your prospecting. So if not now, if you want to jump in another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Someday I'll definitely jump in.
We'd love to do it. All right, Mike, again, thank you much. All right, let's give him a big hand. Woohoo! All right. Okay, Robert, let's take it back. Yes, Robert.
No. I don't want to teach a class.
You don't have to. Oh, wait, we do teach a class today. This is an Ultimate Prospecting Day?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's an Ultimate Prospecting Day.
Let's go prospect. I want to prospect.
Okay. Then let's go prospect.
What class? Whatever you want to do.
Well, what was your takeaway from him, Neil?
I'm a great believer in energy cells. You guys know that, and he really has the ultimate energy. He's nonstop. From the minute I asked him what was going on. I have a page and a half of notes here on things it is, but we sell urgency. Okay. So energy sells. However, we're selling urgency. We've got to get them into action now. Here's what he reminded me of. And those of you that were around the business years ago when the market was going down, and people were, we'd say, look, sell your house for $500,000. And he'd say, I'm not selling for less than 5.25. And the market was dropping. And 6 months later, they couldn't get, 4.25 for the house. We knew that was happening. Get it? We knew that. As well as we know what an amazing time right now is to buy and sell and move up. Okay, or move positions. Maybe not move up, but move positions. You are never, ever in my lifetime and in the lifetime of my grandchildren going to see these interest rates. Never. And you can lock them in for 30 years, 2.5% for 30 years. We're nuts not to take advantage of this. Stupid not to take advantage of this. And yet, we're not communicating that at the highest level to convince people of that. COVID has taught us most people live in homes they're not happy with. Okay? Most people live in circumstance they're not happy with. Change it. Change it. This is the most affordable time to be able to do that. Remember my story I shared with you guys. If you tried to buy a house in 2019 in January and February, a $500,000 house would cost you $2,030 a month PI. You're waving at me, Armand. Is everything, can you hear me?
That is an awesome point. I don't think anybody understood the point you just made. The COVID made people realize how much they hate where they live.
That's right. And we have to remind them, are you happy where you're living? No, move. Well, where to? Let me help you, okay? Now they say, but there isn't a property for me. Here's what you tell them. I'll find you one. I'll find you one. What are you going to do? You're going to get on the phone and you're going to call the old expireds that are 2, 3, 4 years old that didn't sell. And you're going to tell them, are you happy with your house? No, I'm going to move. Mike's got me so excited. I can't stand it. Energy sells. Get in there and talk to people. All right. Come on, you guys. Let's get this done. Urgency, sell urgency. Get people to take action now. I have to get you to take action now. Take action now. All right?
Neil, can I ask a quick question?
Of course, Mike.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, how would you put that into words that can deliver to the prospect and then they receive it very well? Like I'm talking about that specific language pattern that you just mentioned. Like how would we say it in a way that they will receive it well and they actually feel the urgency? Does that make sense?
So Michael, let me ask you a question. Are you happy with where you're living now?
Not 100%.
Okay, can you see yourself someplace else?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
With a yard, some.
Okay, got it. Well, let me tell you something, Mike. In our lifetime, we will never see what you see today. In our lifetime, mark my words, if you ever want to take action now, right now, Michael, this afternoon, 3 o'clock, I'll pick you up. Let's go look at some houses.
Okay.
So do you want to do it at 3 or would 4 be better?
Probably 3 o'clock.
See, here's the hesitation. Their hesitation is, what will I buy if I sell my house? We're not, and Robert, I think we just have to do this. We're not teaching it and they're not getting it the high enough level. You know how to make a listing presentation and you know how to do that, but what you don't know how to do is make a buyer presentation in that I will find you a house. I get this question all the time. Where do I go find a piece of property for my seller? I got 4 buyers and they're all qualified and they all want to buy a house and they all make a lot of money and their demands aren't a big deal, but I can't find anything. Go look at the 4-year-old expireds. Go look at the properties that were canceled. Go look at the for rent by owners. Go find out the houses that are kind of similar to the house that they want and call every one of them and tell them the same thing, that if you want to change your life and change your house, let's do that now. And then they'll say the same thing. Well, where will I live? How will I find another house? Exactly the way I'm finding a house for my seller, I'm going to find you a house. Do you get that? Do you guys get that? And you keep looking for houses for people at the doors, at the phones, mail, networking, past client, sphere of influence. You know, I shared this. I'll share it again because nobody does it anyway. So the people I've shared it with, don't get mad at me. You want to get some listings on some expireds right now? Go drive to their house at 7:30 in the morning and call them from your car outside of their house and say, hey, I'm outside your house. I noticed your home came up as an expired listing. I'm curious, do you want to sell? I'm standing out front. I want an appointment with you. Nobody's going to do it. Let's move on to the next subject. Okay, you guys aren't going to do this, but you could do this and you could make phone calls like Mike's talking about, making phone calls from the car until your next appointment, until you move to down to the next expired. and you just have them mapped out. And if you don't want to do it, here's another idea. For $10, $12 an hour, you could have somebody drive your car from one to the other while you're making phone calls. Right? Hello? You only need it for 3-4 hours in the morning. You don't need it for all day. There's a ton of people that could use 10, 12 bucks an hour cash. A ton of people. All right, I'm running out of energy. No, I'm running out of ideas. No, I'm not running out of anything. Yes, Michael.
Yeah, I know you get excited about what's going on with the rates. I know you've done so many maybe loans for yourself for 30 years and 15. Today I heard 15 years, 1.8%.
Right.
15-year loan. Have you ever heard that in 40
years? Actually, no. The lowest I heard was 1.9. And now you're telling me that 1.9 of 15 years. Now you're telling me there's 1.8.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah, exactly. But we have to go tell everyone, and not the guys and gals here. Michael, go talk to 100 people this afternoon. Texting, you know, I've been talking about texting. Isn't it interesting that Mike talks about texting? Yeah, Josie, I've been telling you about texting, right? Text. Texting is the next best thing to a phone call, okay? Get out and text everybody. Don't mass text. Cut and paste. Do something cool and interesting, all right? Not this 1,000 texts that go out. Okay, Robert, you must have something. Nothing. He's got nothing.
I mean, let's be honest. Nothing that's going to keep their attention after the last hour and 20 minutes. Hey, we just listened to a guy with all kinds of amazing energy and excitement, and then Neil just give us all kinds of wonderful ideas. Who's ready for how to win friends and influence people? I say we take the next 40 minutes and get on the phone, because we're energy right now. We got some excitement. Take the next, even if it's just the next 40 minutes, and call as many people as you can. That's what I recommend. What do you think, Neil? There you go. So we'll catch back up with this, but we got energy. We got excitement. I want you to think about something real quick, and then we'll let you go. Mike just said he's got 2 more hours of prospecting. He's in Virginia. It's 4:20 over there. So if he's prospecting for 2 more hours at 4:20, you can at least prospect for the next 40 minutes here in California. Right? Yeah, there you go. All right. So no 1 o'clock class. I'm excited. I'm energetic. Let's do this. 40 minutes, hardcore prospecting. Let's make it happen.
All right, everybody. Good job. Good decision, Robert. I think that was probably a good idea.
For all of us.
No, I was thinking about you. It's a good idea for you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody want to go unmuted for the next 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Neil says yeah. Huh? You could start at 1:30. Give you 8-minute break. Anyone want to go open mic at 1:30 for 30 minutes? No? All right. I'm just going to assume you're prospecting, though. Just let me
They can't hear you.
Neil, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. Remember that guy who was for rent by owner? We signed a contract already, but he decided to rent. Now, yesterday he asked me to rent for him. The rent will be like $5,000 a month. Originally, I didn't want to take it. they're gonna go back to China. They're coming, but he will buy a fourplex from me later, and he knows some potential clients who might want to do the same. So that's the only thing that motivated me to stay in contact with him. I never met him. So do you recommend I go ahead, help him rent the property? It's gonna be very easy to rent, I know that. He himself got some contacts already, but he just didn't want to meet anybody while he's here. They're going back to China August 14.
I would, look, here's my issue with leases, okay? Is all the transactions we've ever had a problem with that we've gotten really screwed up in lawsuits over were leases. Okay.
All right.
So it's not, it's partially a low amount of money issue, but it's more a legal issue that you can't even protect on. We've had, and I'm telling you, we didn't do anything wrong. Nothing, zero. Okay.
Okay.
And yet it cost us, you know, $10,000, $12,000 to get out of the thing for a $900 lease fee.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's more the issue to me. I would find maybe a property manager type person who will make sure that, you know, make an agreement with them that they'll refer the deal back to you. Let them handle it. They handle that stuff all the time. That's what they do. They have errors and omissions insurance specifically for stuff like that. Anyway, that's just my thought with it.
I like that idea. I don't want to handle the lease myself. I still can keep in contact with him because he really, yeah. So this is what I'll tell him today. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna, if you have a property management company, go ahead. If you don't, I don't mind recommending you one. So
that's where's the property located?
Fullerton.
I can't think of anybody in Fullerton. I have some people in the San Gabriel Valley, but I'm sure that there's some good companies in you know, North Orange County. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure San Gabriel Valley property management.
Just make sure you get them to agree that the client's yours and get that in writing. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Neil.
welcome.
Great advice.
Okay.
Save me probably 5 hours right there. I need a prospect, get a listing.
At least. Right. At least. All right. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.